as things have begun to slowly open up, we are now allowed to play outdoor sports. So in addition to being able to watch sports, which we've been able to do now for a little while, we're also able to play the sports now as well. Now I'd like to come back to perhaps the difference between watching and playing and why that's relevant to this week in just a few moments. But another really interesting thing that this parasha has, particularly when we think about the year that we are living in at the moment, is that this week's parasha actually contains within it a miraculous event that was the extreme opposite of social distancing. Very difficult for us to imagine at the moment. So the Torah describes in Parashat Shemini that as part of the inauguration for the tabernacle, there was this miraculous fire that came down from heaven. And when that miraculous fire came down from heaven, the Torah says that the entire nation fell on their face and bowed to God. And the Midrash comments that actually what happened in this time was that in addition to the miraculous fire coming down, there was another miracle as well. And that miracle was that the courtyard of the tabernacle was able to was able to contain the entire Jewish nation. So this small area managed to have around 2 million people in it, and all of them were able to bow down to the Almighty. Again, very strange miracle. Why exactly was it necessary to cram, to have everyone shoved into this tiny space? Even before social distancing rules came in, 2 million people in such a tiny area is not only uncomfortable, simply impossible. So why exactly did this happen? But the question goes a little bit further, because the Talmud tells us that although there was this miraculous fire that came down from heaven, there was in addition to that a human fire. That it was necessary to also have a human fire, which was actually what consumed the karbanot, which was actually what consumed the sacrifices as part of the inauguration of the temple. So why do you have both? And why does everyone need to be inside to be able to witness this? Perhaps we can suggest that all of those who were inside, in a sense, were able to be part of the lighting of the human fire, which was what actually caused the karbanot, caused these sacrifices to go up to heaven. That the miraculous fire that came down from heaven might have been seen by an outsider, but only those who were actually inside, only those who were part of the event, were able to be part of that action of the lighting of the fire. They may not have been the ones who actually lit the fire, but they would have been part of that, in a sense, that more human side, that more active side to the inauguration, to what actually happened. This is where I come back to watching sports versus playing sports. I think for anybody who likes sports, perhaps they may like both. But there's obviously a huge difference between being a spectator and being a participant. Both have their positives and both are great, but there's nothing that can compare to actually doing something oneself, to actually being there, to actually being in the place, and actually, even as a spectator, just to being in present. And actually, even when being a spectator, watching through a screen is different to actually being there in person. When we're there in person, you feel the atmosphere is different. Everything about the event feels different when you're actually there in person. You're that much closer. You're that much more a part of what is actually going on, of the action that is on the pitch, or on that field, or whatever the sport may be. You're actually that much closer and that much more a part of what is actually happening. And I think that as life moves slowly out of lockdown, while it may be challenging for us to begin to sort of re-engage with shul and with all the other elements of life, I think that we really need to remember that the difference between being a spectator in life, between watching something, watching what is happening from a distance, and actually getting involved is immeasurable. The difference between being a participant, being actually a part of the action, is not the same as watching what is going on through a screen or whatever medium it is. And while it's great to be able to do, while I thank God for the amazing technology that we have been able to have over this last year and what a difference it's made to our lives in such a difficult time, I also remember that as we get the opportunity to come back and to be involved in a more active way, to come back and to really participate in everything that we possibly can, that I will be seizing that opportunity, that I will be taking advantage of being a participant, of being able to do things myself, being present in a room with other people, where safe and where possible, but that really is going to be the way forward, and that when the opportunities present themselves, I'll make sure to seize them with both hands. Shabbat Shalom.